Welcome to JSA TV and JSA Podcasts, the leading newsroom for data centers and telecoms professionals. I'm Jean-Marc Sleeman. Joining me today is Tate Cantrell, CTO of Iceland's leading data center provider, Verne Global. Tate, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jean.
For people that don't know you or don't know Verne very well, let us know what's your journey, what's your history, how did you become involved with the data center world, and what is Verne? What does Verne do?
Sure. Well, for me, started many years ago, actually. I actually started in a supercomputing lab in Tulane University in New Orleans. I was programming my own science. I was doing supercomputing simulations of electromyocardial activity in the heart. Okay. And, my whole life was surrounded around these 2 millimeter by 2 millimeter patches of tissue. And as an electrical engineer in undergrad, I got kind of a fly that was buzzing me around me, and said I should go see the world a little bit, and also learn a little bit about what more I could do in electrical engineering. So I actually drove up to Alaska, got a job in the power engineering industry up there. And then by the time I came back to the lower 48, as we called it up in Alaska, by the time I came back, I actually settled near Washington, D.C., and that was right about the time that the internet industry was kicking off. I started working for the group that was designing and building all of the data centers for America Online at the time. You've Got Mail. So I started working there and helped a company called AboveNet, go with their global deployment of data centers around the world. Really interesting time. And coming out of the .com, we'll call it the .com bust, it was a time when, frankly, a lot of people questioned the value of the data center assets. And I was actually lucky enough to get involved with the start of DuPont Fabros. At the time, it was DuPont Fabros Development. They brought me in as a partner to develop the operations team and to operate and design and help to build the data centers that they rolled out across the U.S. They went public. That company floated in 2007. It was, at the time, I think it was the seventh largest REIT in history. So it was pretty exciting. But I kind of wanted to do more. And so I knew that one of the next challenges for the data center industry was going to be energy, and specifically power. Also, about that time, I was getting my I had 3 boys by then, and was starting to think about the legacy I was leaving for them, and just building data centers everywhere. And so I got very interested in Verne Global, which at the time in 2008 was just getting started with their concept of sustainable data centers built in Iceland, which has a 100% renewable energy grid. Actually, the only one in Europe that's 100% renewable generation. So that's really where Verne started. And it didn't take us long to find out that we had an important niche to serve in the industry, in the data center industry, which was to bring that sustainable capability to high intensity computing. And by high intensity computing, I'm not limiting it just to high performance computing, which we think of as HPC, but also artificial intelligence, AI, the training of these models. Super important. And so what Verne Global has been able to do, it's been able to take the concept of Iceland, which was this, I remember hearing about it kind of in the early noughts as this place where you could do these amazing things with free cooling, sustainable power, but no one had gone and done it. And so we actually really set up the industry. I mean, it took from 2008 until 2011 to get the campus set up and get started. And from there, we've just had fantastic uptake. We've got some really marquee customers in Iceland: BMW, Volkswagen, representing the manufacturing industry. We've got some great financial services customers who prefer to be unnamed, but that's a large growth area that we see. And then companies like that are really leading the edge in artificial intelligence, like DeepL, which is a natural language translation company that does uses artificial intelligence and very parallel models to do this. And one of our most recent customers, which is a really exciting company called Peptone. And so Peptone is developing what they call the protein engineering operating system, and they developed this PIOS to handle massively parallel molecular simulations that are orchestrated and supervised by reinforcement learning algorithms. So you're getting that kind of you're getting HPC, this convergence of high performance computing and artificial intelligence, which I love being at the center of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole new world. I remember the first time I heard from you guys, Verne, I think it was 2015, and at the time you had signed something around smart cars or driverless cars. So you're quite involved in a lot of different things, and then came blockchain and everything else. But how would you describe the data center market in Iceland today, and how do you kind of connect into the other continents, so North America and Europe? Because you kind of this bridge in the middle of the Atlantic, connecting both continents.
Sure.
So what's the state of the plate?
So I'd say the status right now is, obviously very well served for the local population. There's a number of small data center companies and Verne that's serving primarily the international enterprise market. We were set up specifically for that. And since we were that international connection, international company, all of the high-speed undersea cable systems terminate at Verne, as you would expect. And so, in a way, we are really the center of enterprise computing in Iceland. And so, just for those who don't understand how Iceland's connected with the rest of the world, I mean, first of all, we're in a strategic location right in the Mid-Atlantic. So we're connected back to the U.S. Via a cable system called Tele-Greenland, and then we're connected back towards Europe with two systems, one terminating in Scotland and another terminating in Denmark. And these are really modern, 100 gig wave, or in some cases dark fiber, which is very uncommon to be able to obtain in an undersea system. So fantastic connectivity back to Europe, and really we knew this was a prerequisite to be able to set up really a data center industry. And so what I really like about what we've been able to do in Iceland is we've been able to establish an ecosystem, so that regardless of the type of computing that someone is choosing to do, how they want to operate it, how they want to support it, whether it be through cloud, through bare metal, through individual servers, there's an entire ecosystem that's been set up to be able to support that. And while we're talking about connectivity, I'll just go ahead and mention that there's a new cable system called IRIS, which has been fully funded and should be coming online sometime next year. And that is going to be a new cable system connecting us directly to Dublin. And that's really going to be interesting because, we are the furthest west Nordic country, and with a direct connection down to Dublin, you can just imagine how we're going to be able to short circuit to the east coast of the U.S. and also the connectivity down to what has become just a real center, a hub for a hyperscale cloud type computing. So we're really excited about that. We believe that the growth that we're seeing with our financial service companies and other high performance, high intensity computing users. We think that will pair very nicely with direct access to the cloud over that IRIS cable.
Actually, I was going to ask you on the back of what you just said about the IRIS cable, if we can expect to see a lot of press releases and news coming out of Verne around working with the hyperscalers, so with the Googles and Facebooks of the world, because if you go into Ireland, I guess that's probably the main business drive behind it. Or... Well,
so the expansion of undersea cable systems really, we've seen that has been driven by hyperscale demand. So, I wouldn't comment specifically on any direct relationships that we might have with the hyperscale community. But for us, we're just super excited to give our customers the option to be able to choose how they do computing because, specifically on the HPC side of things, our customers at least have seen that, while you can, cloud is fantastic at starting up with a new idea and being able to flexibly decide which tool sets you're going to choose to work with and to be able to experiment with new ideas. It can become cumbersome once you're looking to scale. Look, the cloud folks know this, right? I mean, that's the stickiness. They get people in with the new ideas. And sure, if you want to stay in that ecosystem, you can be nimble. But if you decide how your workflow is going to work, and, we deal with some of the largest companies in the world, they establish workflows and then they look to optimize those and really wring all the fat out of them. And when I know specifically one of our financial services companies said that they put kind of an RFP of sorts to model what we're doing with them. And it was over 5x the cost to put it in the cloud. So, which I don't think really should surprise anyone. And it's why I think co-location, specifically as it relates to high intensity computing, will be very important in the years to come. I mean, we see the HPC markets growing, forecast to grow. Intersect 360 said it should grow to 55 billion. USD by 2024, and I mean the AI market's well over double that.
Yeah, and we are just at the beginning of it all. But now that we've gone through the footprints, the customers, the connectivity scheme around Verne and Iceland. I mean, Iceland is the island of fire and ice. Every time I go to a conference and you talk about Iceland, well, I talk about Iceland to some people still come back with, well, they've got volcanoes there. It's not the best place to host your data. What do you have to say to people like that? Because, I mean, obviously, there's a business there. You've been there for 15 plus years now. And the business is going well, and there's other clients going in, there's other companies going in. So what do you have to tell people about when they say there's volcanoes in Iceland and you can't build a data center in Iceland because of volcanoes?
Sure. Well, I mean, we purposely went there for a reason, right? You said fire and ice. It kind of sums it up nicely, right? It's a great opportunity to be in a location where there's 100% renewable generation. So that's first off. And with the geothermal opportunity, there is. I don't like the term limitless because there's always a limit to things, but there's a very large expansion capacity for us to grow in terms of, with the local providers of power in terms of generation. So we like the scale. And so what I would say to people is, if you like the ability to scale and you like low cost power, then Iceland is something that should be on your radar. Yes, there are volcanoes, but I would also counter that there are risks anywhere you put a data center. I've put data centers all over the world, and I'm yet to find the place where you have zero risks. It just doesn't happen. It also just so happens that we decided, this goes back to 2006, which predates me a little bit, but just after NATO pulled their flag down and handed their campus, their allied command base, they handed that back to Iceland. It wasn't very long after that Verne Global decided that was an optimal location. And I can tell you that NATO did not choose that location out of a whim. We're actually geologically isolated from in the areas in Iceland where there is volcanic activity. And the nice thing is actually volcanoes are not that hard to engineer against. We use cooling systems that can operate completely closed loop, which prevents this. And I fully expect the next few generations of compute, we're going to, at least in the high intensity computing side, we should be moving over to direct liquid, which even further allows us to isolate that infrastructure. So, and I should also mention, as you said, we've operated there for, well in excess of a decade. And, there've been, 4 events that have been ongoing at the time, during that time. And we've operated normally. We've never had any impact to operations or infrastructure, upstream on campus. So it's a great opportunity, and we've been able to, engineer successfully around the concerns that some people might have. But I should also mentioned, our customers are continuing to grow, right? And that's what we see. We bring value from an operational standpoint. When somebody has an application that they would like to scale out, they get comfortable with us and they grow accordingly. So once you become a customer, I think that's an easier question to solve.
And I'm sure it's a pretty data center to visit with surroundings.
It is. Yeah. We encourage people to come and have a look. I mean, we've used to our advantage the location of Iceland. In fact, interesting story. I mean, Peptone came along with, I think, 25 other companies. We had an artificial intelligence roundtable summit in Iceland that we hosted. This is pre-pandemic, but we hosted that at the Blue Lagoon and just hosted a fantastic set of conversations. And they, Peptone was actually in that group. So we don't mind using Iceland as a draw to get people interested in coming up. And now, they're actually in the position now where, thankfully, I just got my second shot, and I'm looking forward to being able to get back over there again. They're done amazingly well at throughout the COVID pandemic. It's a very impressive society that Iceland has out there.
Yeah, they were very good at containing it. And now in this second phase of vaccinations as well. So maybe I'll join in a few months' time once I get my shot. But you touched on this as we were talking through as well. What are you going to be working on during this year and even into next year? And are we ever going to see Verne Global going elsewhere, opening sites elsewhere?
Sure. Well, I will say for us, it's just about continued expansion. We've in the last few years, I mean, we more than doubled the amount of infrastructure that we had in place, and we're planning on a huge increase in this coming year. We should be in excess of 30 megawatts of infrastructure put in place, which is still that's still a small amount compared to our total campus capacity. I think what you should expect to see is a lot of announcements involving partnerships, right? I mean, we have a very strong relationship that we've developed with NVIDIA. We're now a titanium partner with Dell, and we do this because our customers are, for some of their industries, it really is, somewhat of an arms race. I mean, the new technology and the new advancements that are capable with, chips like the DGX A100, NVIDIA DGX A100. There's just some fantastic things that people can do. And once they get those workflows in place, it's just a matter of how much equipment that we can move up. So we're seeing huge growth from our customers. And I would say be on the lookout for some interesting funding announcements that will really allow us to leverage some relationships moving forward, which, could see some significant growth story for Verne in the years to come.
Well, I always like a bit of a money story. I like a bit of cash injections.
I know, and I would definitely encourage you to have a conversation with our CEO, Dominic Ward. Dominic's really got an interesting story. I mean, he actually led the round for the Wellcome Trust. He was heading up their private equity division at the time, and so they were our first, let's say, large long-term vision shareholder. And, they've, we have fantastic investors. They every time there's been, a call for capital to help us continue to develop, they've been there, and we're now at a point where, we've been able to leverage some very interesting debt story. And I know Dominic will be really excited to talk to you about that.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I would love to see him face to face.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
But if people want to find out more about Verne and if they want to subscribe to maybe announcements or alerts to your announcements, where can they go to find out more?
Well, depending on when someone sees this, we're just in the final days of launching a new website, verneglobal.com, that will be focused on making sure that our story is matching up with our social media message. You can, of course, always find us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn is probably, for professionals, probably the best place to do it. And then, also, I like to blog and talk about it. So, feel free to hit me directly on social media. I'm Tate 8 Tech, the number 8. But I'm always happy to interact with people. I think there's so many great things that are happening in technology right now. I think the data center has an important, we're of course an important part of driving infrastructure forward, but I believe that we should be and will be an example for other industries in terms of how you take sustainability and make it an important part of the success of your overall industry. And I think in the years that come, I think we'll all look back and be very happy about these, next 10, 20 years that the data center industry is able to really convert to identifying just how important sustainable infrastructure is.
And that's happening right now. I mean, we can't wait 10 years to get the ball going.
No.
Okay, Tate, thanks so much for talking to us. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in to JSA TV and JSA podcasts. And don't forget to check our social media channels as well for more content. Until next time, happy networking.